Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Adam Harris and welcome to this week's major currencies analysis. It is Sunday the 17th of January and just having a look at the week ahead. So noticing, just focusing predominantly on high impact news. The one that I'm really going to be looking forward to is on Wednesday. This is the 20th. This is now the kind of official switching over date of the new president coming in from the US, which is Joe Biden. And at this point, I'm not sure if President or let's call him ex-President Trump or outgoing President Trump will actually be available that day. So I think that this is going to be an eventful day, no doubt, simply because there's been a lot of general civil unrest, but also because I'm just curious as to see how Trump is actually going to handle it. At any rate, so far, considering all the unrest that's happened in the markets, they've actually handled it relatively well, but I'm just highlighting that these are kind of the most sort of anticipated events of the week, sort of looking there in terms of central bank stuff as well. Canada, Bank of Canada also potentially discussing anything they might do, so I'll be keeping an eye on the monetary policy report. Then on Thursday, so again, this is mostly on the back end of the week. On Thursday, I'll be looking ahead at Australian dollar as well as the Japanese yen, which is Bank of Japan outlook report. And again, also monetary policy statement coming out of Europe as well, ECB press conference as well. That's pretty much it. And then, of course, we have some news coming out on the Friday that will add a bit of volatility into the markets. But really, the biggest one of the week will be Wednesday. So there might actually be the market could potentially go into a bit of a coma throughout the day. That's a possibility. So it becomes largely range bound. And otherwise, we might also see potentially a bit of a boost. We might see the dollar potentially strengthen or potentially weaken if it's completed its retracement, and then really focusing on everything else. So that's it. So it's not ridiculously busy in terms of high impact news, and that's it. So let's see what's going on in the actual charts. So onto the charts and having a look here at the dollar basket. So we've had at least the start of that retracement up towards 91. And I think for now it's feasible and fair to say that it's most likely going to continue up to 91 and then assess how it feels at that point in time. So from a weekly perspective, this is almost a minimal requirement, I think, for retracement. Could it go further? Yes, it could go up to 92. That's also quite valid. That would come in to test previous levels of recent local levels of support as resistance. And a nice little bullish monthly candle so far. Could potentially see it coming up into this area as well. So I spoke last week about that bigger picture being the possibility that the dollar could ultimately turn out to be range bound. And we'd really only know this once we start to kind of head up towards 95. So for now, I'm just going to kind of take the shorter term approach and just really deal with what it's going to do as it approaches those. So 91 towards 92 this week potentially. So then having a look at euro dollar, I'd like to see that come down and connect with 1.2. So again, for intraday trading purposes, cautiously looking for shorting opportunities to that. Should we break below that, then of course I'll start to eye out the next levels, which puts me down towards sort of 1.1612. And then having a look at sterling. So sterling actually held a bit better than I expected it to. It's a little bit kind of choppy at the moment, and I'd like to see it come down and test 1.35. And if it breaks through that, I'd like to see it head down towards 1.32. If it holds at that level, it might actually take another run back up within that sort of small little range. And the Aussie dollar and Kiwi dollar have actually, I think, are the legends at the moment in terms of trading opportunities there. It's had a big move at the moment up towards 77.50, and a potential retracement over here would be very nice to see it take a bit of a breather. We've got a lower high in the daily. We haven't quite changed trend there yet. And then having a look at Kiwi dollar, we've started that weekly retracement back down towards 7050. And so it potentially finding some support there. Also potentially producing a bullish, ultimately a bullish sort of longer term candle, which might see that it ends up ultimately heading a little bit lower. So the reason I mentioned that those two are really nice is that even on the crosses with them, there's been some really good trends lately. And they're one of the few kind of pairs where the weekly charts are not necessarily range bound. And so I'd see a lot of potential for them in the coming weeks. Here, for example, dollar yen, although I can see it kind of creeping down slowly but surely, breaking through that 104.50 level. If we do get that stronger dollar, I think it's fair to see it come up to 104.50, perhaps get back over the line. But even here, you can see on the weekly chart, largely range bound, hasn't done a lot. So again, I don't see any value in dollar yen as a currency to be traded for traders, and in fact actually even for investors potentially. Having said that, let's have a look here at dollar Swissy. Dollar Swissy kind of creating a very rough kind of head and shoulders, about to potentially break to that level. The implication here being that it's going to head up towards 0.9, and that weekly would pull it back into beautiful historical significant support to test it as resistance. And so that I think is highly probable. Dollar CAD as well starting to look more and more bullish, and potentially wanting to head up towards that 1.3 level. So we'll see if that actually happens. This has been inherently weak, and so or at least to say that the dollar has been weakening against the Canadian dollar. We'll see how that goes. And so that's really kind of what I'm looking for. Most of them appear to be weakening against the US dollar with some variation of that. My favorites really kind of looking like euro dollar, possibly Aussie dollar against US dollar, Kiwi dollar against that, and maybe a dollar Swissy to the upside. In terms of trending opportunities throughout the rest of the week, it's the Aussie crosses and Kiwi crosses that I like the most. Sort of Euro Aussie has a really nice weekly downtrend, starting to head into overextended territory. If it hits this monthly level, that's potentially where it might likely have a retracement. But again, even on Pound Aussie as well, nice little level of support there. I'd like to see a kind of break through that, and then having a look at, say, Aussie CAD. Quite a few of these have got some really good trends on the weekly, but at some point they're going to have to do a bigger retracement. What I really wanted to say there is, yep, I'm expecting a potentially weaker US dollar, at least in the coming days. Once it hits those key levels, then it becomes anyone's guess as to whether it's going to continue onwards, which is a possibility if the larger picture turns out to be range bound. And then I'll take each of them on a daily basis. Thank you very much.